What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q from Retro Q Gaming, back at it again with a little special episode here. Special because, well, we're here with episode 30 of our Quack Experimental Podcast. No, fuck that. We're here with episode 30. That's it. That's how we go. Episode 30. So, what have we got today? Well, unfortunately, it's been a bit of an eventful week. And by saying unfortunately, there's a lot of people need a hardcore slapping around at this point, and one of which we're going to start with is WWE2k20 and 2K Games and whoever they employ for this, because we all know that spectacularly and famously they've now moved away from, I believe it's Ukes, to give a different company a shot at this license, because apparently the Ukes games have been bad for the last, well, since their existence. But by comparison with what came out with 2K20 this year, they look like gold standard games, which is absolutely shocking, because if you see what has been around for the last few years, you'd think it can't get any worse, but then you see this and it's a broken, absolute Arkham Knight PC version, original launch tier mess. It's a disaster. But the big thing I want to talk about when it comes to 2K20, just remember, right, when you choose to support these companies, oh, but Q, there's no other wrestling games out there, no one makes, don't fucking buy them. Are you that weak? Are you that much of a mark that you have to buy them no matter what, because you're just like right up Vince McMahon's rectum? Clearly you are, but that's a rhetorical question. My point is that these companies, 2K, the actual dev team, whoever made it, the publishers, everyone involved, they looked at this. Someone looked at this. Remember, the QA testers, the beta testers, the game testers, all of them, they probably handed in dozens, if not hundreds of pages of glitches and problems. It's not their job to fix them. It's their job to report them. And remember, they turned them in. And whoever it was, in charge of the team, in charge of the studio, in charge of the publishing, in charge of whatever it was, looked at this and they said, this is good enough to release. That's how low these companies value your thoughts, your opinions, your satisfaction, your enjoyment. Why? Because they know you will buy this, because you're a mark. You're an absolute mark. Clearly, if you bought 2K20, especially if you bought it after seeing all this and knew it, and you can argue that it's going to be patched, it doesn't matter. You're a mark, an absolute mark. And nothing will ever change that. Nothing will change that. Unless you give up buying their games, which you won't. But 2020, when WWE 2K21 comes out, you're going to buy it all over again. Why? Because you're an absolute mark. It's ridiculous. Just remember that that's how they value you. They don't see you as a consumer. They don't see you as enjoyment. They don't see you as putting out, or they don't see if they should put out a quality product for you. They will put out what is clearly below the bare minimum. And just because they know you will buy it. And you do. And you do. But moving away from corporations fucking people to a different corporation fucking different people. Or cozying up to someone or something or some place that's fucking other people. We have Mike Ybarra. Now, nothing against Mike personally, obviously, but it's rolling in with the whole Blizzard thing. Because Mike Ybarra, who's been at Xbox for over a dozen years, I think he said it was 15 to 20 years at this point, he's recently just left Xbox, maybe a week or two ago. And now, he's walking into a new role as the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Hong Kong Incorporated. I mean Blizzard, I'm sorry. You can see why I got the difference mixed up there. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. We all know, believe it or not, many console Xbox fanboys will just completely disregard this. But Mike has always been a big PC gamer. You could see when something new came out, a new game came out, be it crossplay or not cross-buy, or not even on the Microsoft Windows 10 store, he would always post pictures from the PC version because he's a gamer, he's a PC gamer. He knows that that's going to give him the best experience. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can now do in what is supposedly a more PC-focused company. Because with Blizzard and whatnot, you just don't know how it's going to go in 2019 with this company. But supposedly, Blizzard are a PC-centric and PC-focused company. I would argue that is technically true, because when you look at all their games and whatnot, really the only things they have outside are Overwatch and... What's the other one? I'm forgetting it. Overwatch and Diablo, when you look at the Blizzard side of it, versus all the StarCraft, all the Warcraft, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So you see my point. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can do anything with that. Especially because his first day is going to be, I believe, the 4th of November. And he's going to be at BlizzCon. That's right. We all know BlizzCon from last year. What, you guys don't have memories? But onto another company that enjoys fucking people, but this time is the one getting fucked. That's right. We have Ubisoft. Professional French cunts who like to try and fuck everyone over and steal their money, but now have been fucked over and have not got their money that they wanted to steal. Why? Well, you might remember Ghost Recon Wildlands. Or is it Ghost Recon Wetlands? I think it's Wildlands. Game that started off fairly poor, but over all the time it was out and the expansions, the updates and changes and whatnot, it grew to be fairly popular. Never played it myself, but I'm not oblivious to everything that's out there. We've seen the numbers, we've seen the praise, we've seen some sales, etc., etc. And it's apparently evolved to become a more passable experience, more passable game, and possibly even a good one. I don't know. I'm going to stay out of it in that regard. But we all know that they tried to cash in with the sequel. Ghost Recon... I need to check the name here. Breakpoint. I knew it was something beginning with B, but I couldn't remember what it was. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now, they've come out and said that Ghost Recon Breakpoint flopped. It sold about 10% of what they predicted. And what's especially funny about that is I would almost hazard a guess that almost all of that 10% were bought in advance exclusively by Epic. That's my one. Because, of course, they're going to factor in that to try to drum up their numbers to make it not look like, we sold 99% less instead of 90% less. So I would probably hazard a guess that that's the case too. But, yeah, it's gotten so bad that it flopped so poorly that Ubisoft had to delay a bunch of their other games, because they wanted them to be better games and avoid flopping this poorly. Those games, of course, include Gods and Monsters, Watch Dogs Legions, and Rainbow Six Quarantine, all of which are delayed until some point in 2020, because, well, they don't want them to flop terribly, lose them a shitload of money, and, well, overall be laughed at, and their stock tanking and whatnot too. Their stock tanked something like 20% after all this news, after all the delays and the flop numbers. It feels so good to say that, though, because fuck Ubisoft. That's all I can say. When you try to force stuff like the extremely heavy grind of microtransactions, the extremely heavy grind in game balance in order to convert you to buying microtransactions, the ones to skip experience, the ones to skip levels, skill points, etc. When they try skew the balance of games to make you buy microtransactions, that's too fucking much. That's absolutely ridiculous. And it saddens me that it's come to this point in the industry. But it makes me happy in this particular case, because a company pushed too far, like EA did with Star Wars Battlefield 2, and then they got fucked. Trying to force all that stuff in, trying to force an online-only aspect into a game that was no reason whatsoever to be online-only, it came back and bit you in the arse. Absolutely epic. Game Store lulz. Now, moving on to another delay, we have a more important and higher profile one than anything Ubisoft could ever do. The Last of Us Part 2. That's right. That game, the much hyped, much anticipated game, so shortly after the giant press event just several weeks ago, solely focused around exclusively that one game with hours of gameplay just for the press and an entire PlayStation State of Play built around it. And an absolutely failure of 19 minutes saved and kind of forced everyone to watch it just for the 1 minute, including the original, now defunct release date. Weeks later, has been delayed. Now, of course, a game getting delayed is better than a game getting rushed, because obviously it's going to be a better one in the long run too. So it's now delayed from its original release date of February 21st, 2020 until May 29th, 2020. So why is this good and why is this bad? Well, good means, well, the reason why it's good is it's going to be a better game overall. So I'm happy about a delay in that regard. They're not going to rush it out. There's not going to be as many bugs. There's not going to be, there'll be more polish basically, and everything will be better overall. Hopefully, at least anyway. The bad side of it is I'm dying to play it and I want to play it sooner. So that doesn't help there too. But I will say two extra things. One, with the new release date, assuming it doesn't get delayed again, May 29th is 2 days before my birthday. I can just take that weekend off and I will just play the shit out of The Last of Us Part 2 all weekend. All weekend. All, every day, minute, second, weekend. And as a worrying note, almost, hopefully they didn't delay it in order to shoehorn in shitty ass multiplayer that no one wants, that everyone fakes about and pretend they want, but don't really want. No, there's a reason why they left it out. Keep it out. Keep it dead. May 29th, can't wait. Wow, you know what? I didn't even notice it, but this week is basically all just ripping companies a new one. Wow, that was just out of nowhere. Speaking of companies that we have to rip a new one, this is basically 3 topics rolled into one. Because I wrote one, then later during the week another one happened, and later during the week another one happened. I made a video about one of them earlier this week, so it's partially done already. But Fallout 76. What did I call it? The radioactive burning wasteland that just keeps giving. Todd, stop. You're short, we get it. I beg you, I can't take the lols anymore. They're killing me. They're absolutely killing me. My sides are splitting at the moment. All 20 of them. All 20 of them. Get it? Get it? But I pleaded with them earlier this week in that other video not to give me more ammo. But in that video, just like every other time I talked about, I knew they would fuck up again. And what did they do? A day after it was originally announced and they fucked up. They fucked up again. And then a day or two later, they fucked up again. Now you might be wondering what's going on. First off, when they announced their paid subscription service for that broken mess of a game that no one should be playing in the world, even if it was free to play, but it's not. Fallout First, the subscription service. Well, Bethesda didn't buy the website for Fallout First. So, and let's call them enterprising Reddit user did. And they went there and they posted up a bunch of stuff that absolutely slaughtered everything in the DLC. It was savage AF. Now, I don't know if the website is still up. I'm sure if you Google around the internet, there are many, many different screen caps of all the stuff that was completely roasting Todd's little 2-foot nothing short arse on there. So go check them out, by the way. Definitely just go Google the screen caps for the Fallout First website if it's not still up. But wait. There's more. That's right, there's more. They fucked up even more. So not only are there so much bullshit and so much parts wrong and everything else is all fucked up with their subpass. Remember some of the stuff that they put in them. Remember they had private servers or private worlds and whatever? Yeah, they don't seem to, not only do they seem to be not private, but they also seem to be, kind of reused and recycled. Because people are reporting that when they create a private server to load in and play with their friends, even though there's only like 8 people on the game, so they're technically all playing together anyway, the worlds that they load into, these private servers, are already looted. Dead NPCs everywhere. It's basically loading you a non-reset world that someone's already played in. Gets worse though. Gets worse. Not only these private servers, anyone on your friends list can jump into the game uninvited. There's no option. There's no privacy option. There's no... Well, I guess you can only call them privacy options. There's no squad-based options. There's no invite only. There's no private. There's none of that stuff. There's no open. It's just anyone on your friends list. Or even anyone who can go in and see you in recent players and just find you that way. Anyone who can access your profile, basically. I would argue that it would not surprise me whatsoever if someone could just search for your gamer tag randomly, find you that way, and join your game. Would not surprise me whatsoever. Again, this is something that should have been... This is baseline stuff. But again, Fallout 76, like WWE2k20, is far below zero expectations and far below what should be the minimum. Absolutely ridiculous. But wait. There's more. That's right. There's more. You might remember that one of the other perks of this paid subscription service for this terrible disaster of a game was a storage box. I believe they called it a scrap box that could hold unlimited and infinite scrap. Now, not only does this apparently not store them, but it deletes the items and removes them from the game world completely. Asterisk, because there's extra addendum and notes to this now in a minute. But you just couldn't make this shit up. Absolutely just could not make this shit up with how much of a disaster and how much of a fuck up it is. It's very on brand for this game though, I will say. Now, since all that first came out and whatnot, Bethesda have put out an official statement, an official line about it. Apparently, according to them, the official line is that they're going to add privacy settings, so people can't just randomly join your game, which is unacceptable because that should have been in it from the whole advent of the private server system. How could you not figure that out? This stuff has been basic since online gaming on console took off. What are you doing? It's ridiculous. But the whole scrapbox issue. Now, they're calling it a UI problem. So they're basically saying that the items are there for the vast majority of people. The items are there. They just can't access them because they're not showing up properly. Or at least they're not showing up properly in the scrap box. Apparently you can still access them if you go to use the scrap elsewhere on the workbench and whatnot. You can still access what's in there. You just can't remove it through the UI on the scrap box itself. But they have confirmed that there are people who actually lost and removed all their stuff when it was put in to the scrap box. I have no words for this anymore. No words. I just have to end the segment as this. I'm completely dumbfounded. What can I say other than it's an absolute shame, it's an absolute shambles, it's an absolute disaster, it's completely unacceptable. People are apparently buying and playing this game. When I bought my Xbox One X, my second one, or when I replaced it, I guess you should say, at the start of this year, the game is in such a disastrous state that it was cheaper for me to buy the Fallout 76 Xbox One X bundle than it was buying a vanilla Xbox One X by about €20. There were stores in other countries giving away 2 free copies of the game because you buy the Fallout 76 bundle and they would give you a free physical copy attached with it as well. Just because they needed to get rid of it and it's such a mess. What do I say? What do I say? I've never installed it. I never plan on installing it. And the only reason I even redeemed the CD key was, or the CD key, but the only reason I even redeemed the key was because it was coming in the same key with my 1 month Xbox Live Gold. And I wanted the gold. Unfortunately, I had to take Fallout with it as well. I just don't know what to say. Obsidian fucking schooled them though. And the companies and developers and everyone just keeps losing. Because we're cycling back to 2K. Specifically Gearbox. And then 2K and Take-Two. You know how it works anyway. Borderlands 2 VR. Now, Borderlands 2 VR has been a PlayStation VR exclusive for a little while. And now it's on PC. It's available on Steam, of course, not on the Epic Game Store, where only Borderlands 3 is available and not Borderlands 1, not Borderlands 1 Remastered, not Borderlands 2, not Borderlands the pre-sequel, not Borderlands 2 VR. That's right, only Borderlands 3, but apparently that's the best place for it to be for Borderlands fans for some reason. Oh, wait. Yeah, good one, Randy. We see through your lies. Your little fucking smoke and mirror act turning tricks doesn't work. Anyway, Borderlands 2 VR just launched on Steam. Okay? Just launched a few days ago for full fucking price, as expected. As fucking expected. Now, and it seems like it's a bit of a disaster port. Again. Why is this a recurring theme today? I don't know. So the biggest problems that many people are having is that everything is out of scale. The world is out of scale. The characters are out of scale. The weapons are out of scale. Everything is just completely out of scale and out of just completely out of whack compared to each other. No matter what headset you try it on, if it's a Valve Index, if it's a HTC Vive or a Vive Pro, if it's the Oculus Rift, if it's an Oculus Quest S or whatever it's called, none of them. They all just seem to be an absolute disaster with varying results. The gun positioning is completely off from where the controllers are. The hands and the guns and whatnot, they're just completely off. This presents a problem because naturally it makes aiming and shooting, the core mechanic of the game, an absolute bitch to do, which is just a joke. Of course, it still has no multiplayer. It was built with no multiplayer, but unfortunately has no multiplayer, which is a lot of crap because one of the biggest appeals of Borderlands is the amazing multiplayer that pretty much no game has been able to recapture despite everything trying to rip it off with its gameplay style system, its loot and shoot thing. I don't know why. Luckily, I didn't buy it. There are some questionable things going on the Steam page and the Steam community for it. For example, at the time of recording these notes, not the time of recording this video, but the time of making these notes, according to the front-facing page on Steam, there was one user review. And you would look at the review, it was a negative review. But when you clicked into reviews, there were 8 of them. All negative. But only one of them was showing up on the front page. I checked the filters. I checked to see if it was, positive, negative, or kind of funny, or whatever it was. I checked all the ones. I checked in different languages. They all show up in the Steam page, or in the Steam community. But they don't show up on the front page. Remember, because that would lead to a 100% negative vote if every single vote of the game, or vote of review, was negative. All 8 of them. But for some reason, there's only one of them. No positive reviews. Well, let's just take a quick second as we end out this segment anyway to just remember that this is all due to Randy Pitchford, that punk-ass motherfucking bitch. And we'll all just take 1 second to appreciate, no matter how great Borderlands 2 originally was and all of its DLCs, with a heavy hand on our heart, we will all sit here waiting for Borderlands 3 to come to Steam and say, fuck you, Randy fucking Pitchford. And speaking of Borderlands 2 having no online multiplayer or no multiplayer at all, what's up with online multiplayer? To this day, companies still launch the majority of games, high profile ones at least anyway, with broken online systems. It's so insane. Server issues, disconnects, lag spikes, too few servers, too low a server capacity, whatever it is. How many years have these companies, how many games have these companies that they've worked on, all of this, how long has it been going on? It's ridiculous. And the perfect example of this is the new Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the remake or reimagining or whatever the fuck you want to call it, is, of course, when it launched, there was massive amounts of server issues and server problems. These developers, this game studio, the specific studio, have been making games with online multiplayer for how long? How many games have they put out with online multiplayer? And they still haven't got it right at this point. It still ends up like this shit. Every single year, time and time again, like clockwork. Why is it so much to ask, apparently, for a game to work. Online, offline, whatever it is. Gears of War is another good example. Gears of War had many, many problems during its little early access period. Now, granted, Gears of War 5 was apparently the biggest selling Gears title to date. Or at least, well, see, they fudged the numbers a little bit because of Game Pass. But even, that's no excuse. This is Microsoft. Probably the biggest company in the world when it comes to online, network, servers, capacity, everything. Microsoft provide server farms for everyone. PlayStation included. So, why can they not even get this right? In the case of this, Activision Blizzard, probably the biggest third-party publisher going. It's either them or EA, it's one of the two. And they can't get it right? This company, that to an extent had Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 for a period of time, even on their launcher, when Destiny 2 used the Blizzard servers. They have all the server infrastructure up. StarCraft, StarCraft 2, Overwatch, Hearthstone, World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, all of this, even Diablo, it's an always online game for some fucking reason. All of this. And they can't get any of this stuff right. It's absolutely shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. The part that's even more shocking that this keeps happening and whatnot is that the industry doesn't change. No one holds these accountable. People are happy enough to buy trash, this kind of crap, and then say, oh, well, it'll be patched, it'll be fixed down the line, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't change anything, does it? Unless you stand up for it. Then again, you people have your nose up Hong Kong Incorporated's arse too much, so yeah. And speaking of Hong Kong Incorporated and Mike Ybarra and all of that stuff, we have BlizzCon. That's right, BlizzCon is happening early next month, right at the start of November. And it's going to be interesting. Because we have to see what's going to happen after the absolute mess, the PR nightmare, the disaster that was BlizzCon 2018 and Diablo Immortal. It makes you wonder what we're actually going to see. Apparently there's going to be big announcements, but they said that last year and then we got Diablo Immortal. What, you people don't have phones? But yeah, apparently there's going to be big announcements. There's rumors again of Diablo 4. This happens every year. I'm not going to get excited about it until the confirmation, in which case I call it fake news, which is what I call many of these rumors until there's confirmation, because people spout them like they're legit. Just like, what's it called, Blue Point Games and Demon's Souls remake for PS5. Yeah, it's fake news until we're confirmed. But, so what do we have? There's the rumors of Diablo 4. What else do we see? New World of Warcraft expansion, new Hearthstone expansion, new Heroes of the Storm characters, Overwatch 2. Yeah, right, as if we don't have Overwatch 2. Blizzard like to beat their games to death and just kind of drag them out forever, as we've learned with Diablo 2, as we've learned with Overwatch, as we've learned with World of Warcraft, as we've learned with StarCraft 2. The list goes on. But what else could we see? I don't even know at this point. They're remastering Warcraft 3 already. Are they going to remaster Warcraft 1 and 2? They've already remastered StarCraft 1. They're running out of games to remaster at this point. So we'll have to see if they do something completely different or whatever it is. Personally, I will say this, I do hope we get Diablo 4. I do hope it's a return to form, unlike Diablo 3, because one, not only was that the horrible, ugly-ass World of Warcraft style, just like Overwatch, just they use that horrible, almost like Nintendo pastel colors. It's fucking disgusting. Especially if you see the art, the actual concept art that Blizzard puts out. One of my friends has has the majority of the World of Warcraft books, despite not playing World of Warcraft, just because the artwork is so gorgeous, and it's completely destroyed when you look at them porting it over to the shitty little cartoony style that you'd see in World of Warcraft or Diablo 3 or Overwatch. So it's such a shame in that way. But just before we round out the BlizzCon section, I do want to circle back to last year with Diablo Immortal again just one more time, and I just want to say that I can't believe they had the fucking audacity and they had the huge fucking Blizzard blue balls that they really thought so much of themselves and so much of Diablo that they unironically said to everyone that they expected everyone who has already starved for years at this point, or at that point, for Diablo-related content and Diablo-related news, to be happy, thankful, to be grateful that that's all you deserve. That would headline the opening announcement, and that would headline the entire show of Diablo Immortal on smartphones. No one fucking wants that. Mobile games fucking suck. That's why half the games on the Switch are crap. But anyway, here we are at the end, thankfully. The one true bit of joy I can get from this week. Just to share with you guys that everyone knows the Q, what is up, what's going on, what finally brought you to happiness this week. Well, this week has been up and down. We've had a consistent week of streaming, 5 small streams, 1 every night. Nothing major, nothing super, nothing important, but I wanted to work on consistency. I was very happy with myself and everyone who turned up for any of that. So that was nice. That was a good bit of a boost in there too. Anyway, Gears of War 5 has kind of been fizzling out the last few days. Horde mode is getting a little bit repetitive, especially because of the bad selection of maps. And, well, some of the maps are awful. And I think I probably hate about 40% of the maps because some of them are just designed really poorly and I really dislike them. But it's kind of fizzling out. I think maybe I'll just take a little bit of a break on a comeback when they do their first major content update, which I believe is in December. I think we're on like week 9 of 17 or week 8 of 14 or something. It tells you in game. I don't really properly pay attention to it because I don't really need to. But other than that, Medieval Remake came. Released on Friday. My copy got here Thursday. I streamed it Thursday night. Played a little bit more on Friday morning. And unfortunately, it's not a very good remake. It has improved ever so slightly from the demo that they originally launched back in, the start of this month, end of last month, whenever it was. It was a little bit better than that. It starts off alright. It starts off decent in the sense that the first couple of levels, they control kind of well. They play kind of well. It runs decently, but it's because of the level design and whatnot too. However, once you beat the first boss and move on to some levels beyond that, the game starts to fall apart. The performance tanks, it's absolutely all over the place. The camera is absolutely diabolically bad, and all of those combined together really don't help your playability side of it too, which is a shame because I love Medieval. I 100%ed the first game way back in the day, and I absolutely love it. So unlike Crash, unfortunately, I can't really speak to Spyro because I didn't really like Spyro back in the day, and I'm only properly playing it now, or at least I was before I stopped. I kind of got bored of it. But in comparison to Crash, everyone wanted it to be a Crash tier and what everyone else refers to as a Spyro tier remake. It's just not there. It's just not there. I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually, but it's been pushed back essentially because, no real desire to play the quality state that it's in now. However, there is a silver lining to this cloud of dullness that is this entire week, from news and gaming related stuff and what I'm doing and what I'm playing and all too. And that silver lining comes in the form of The Outer Worlds. Because The Outer Worlds was thankfully cracked about 2 or 3 hours after its release. And it's fucking fantastic. I've been playing so much Outer Worlds. I downloaded it yesterday morning and I've probably put about 12 to 16 hours into it. And I'm recording this just after noon on the Saturday. And I've put about maybe 12 to 16 hours into it. It's a damn good game. It's a fantastic game. Obsidian really shit all over Fallout 76, I will say that much. Which is also especially funny because when you consider that many people, myself included, consider Fallout New Vegas to be the best 3D Fallout game, the one, not made by Bethesda. Yeah, The Outer Worlds absolutely demolishes Fallout 4. I mean, you want to say that they're so far apart, there's such a big gulf in quality and difference that they're not even the same game and not even the same genre. I feel like that would be a bit unfair. Yes, they're the same genre. Fallout 4 is obviously an okay, decent game. It's a terrible Fallout game, but Outer Worlds destroys it. Outer Worlds absolutely shits all over. Bethesda should be ashamed of themselves at this point. Because now Fallout 3, on the other hand, was great, But New Vegas was even better. Fallout 4 was mediocre, and Outer Worlds is fantastic. So they're really going to have their work cut out for them when they hit Fallout 5 or whatever spin-off Fallout game that they make next. As long as it's not a different departure like fucking Fallout 76 or something like that. But other than that, the only other thing I can report on at the moment is that my RGB PS2 SCART cable arrived today. Very, very strange for several reasons. One, I ordered it a few days ago. I think it was on Tuesday. And it comes from the UK, but the company I usually buy them from is usually fairly slow and can take me up to about 2 weeks to get them. However, this took less than a week and it arrived on a Saturday, which is very strange. We don't typically have post on Saturdays, with the exception of 1 or 2 couriers, which this wasn't. So I'm very, very strange in that one. I'm looking forward to testing it out. It arrived this morning, so I can't wait to test it out a good bit today. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was originally going to play Silent Hill 2 fully and properly with this cable on my PVM. However, the Outer Worlds put a bit of a kibosh on that because it's so hard to tear myself away from that game. It's just so good. Anyway, that is it for our episode 30. That's right, episode 30. We are done. Now, this week was an absolute disaster, an absolute shit show for many of the companies involved in this show. And of course, my own gaming itself up until, well, Outer Worlds came out and this PS2 cable got here has been a bit of a mess. But thankfully, hopefully, it's going to pick up next week. I know my own personal stuff will, again, thanks to the cable and thanks to Outer Worlds. But the rest of it, well, company's going to company, developers going to develop, and publishers going to publish. And we know how that goes in the gaming industry. Anyway, let me know anything you feel about anything we talk about in this in the comments section below. As well as if you want to check out something, get a little bit of a professional quality person with, naturally, their best, correct, true and proper opinions, and the right opinion, more importantly. Feel free to leave it in the comments section below or slide into those DMs on Twitter. They are open for many reasons, one of them being just those. Now, we come to the end. The bittersweet sorrow that is the end of this week's episode. So anyway, let me know all of that good stuff in the comments section below. Thank you for sticking with me through this negative, toxic, disastrous episode. But while you're at it, why not head on over and hit the subscribe button and even ring the little notification bell. And while you're at it, just remember that winners don't play switch ports.